The long-awaited question of who would sit on the Iron Throne has finally been answered. No one. That's because the Iron Throne is no more thanks to Drogon. It was ugly and uncomfortable anyways. Iron Throne or not, the new ruler of Westeros is surprisingly none other than Bran Stark, aka Bran the Broken, aka the Three-Eyed Raven.
Wow.
That's right, the guy who sat back and watched as millions of people died in multiple battles and refused to use any of his powers, he's king. Well, I guess he went flying for a little bit, but that's it. At first glance, King Bran Stark doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but if you consider that Bran is evil, that's when things get interesting. The choice of Bran Stark as king is a completely unassuming one, having seemingly done very little since he became the new Three-Eyed Raven way back in Season 6. Though he has the ability to warg into animals and sometimes people, and to know about seemingly anything that's happening anywhere, in the past, present, and future maybe, he rarely uses these powers, and hasn't been very involved in the goings-on of Westeros. Sure, he outed Littlefinger in Season 7, helped Jon learn about his true identity, and provided some information on how to deal with the Night King, but that's about it. Now, Bran came off as a good choice for the ruler of Westeros because it's seemingly not a job that he wanted.
You don't want it.
I don't really want anymore.
Also because he's supposedly wise, not to mention a bit distant, and therefore can be objective and just. But some viewers are questioning the choice of Bran in the end because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. For someone who knows seemingly everything, Bran hasn't spent much time this season helping anyone. What makes him such a good choice for king other than the fact that he's a great compromise to keep the power away from everyone else?
And who has a better story than Bran the Broken? The boy who fell from a high tower and lived. He knew he'd never walk again, so he learned to fly.
The fact that Bran hasn't had much going on since Season 6 has bothered quite a few viewers, including myself. And now to have him wind up on the throne seemingly by default is even less satisfying. But in the series finale, Bran says something that suggests he knows more than he's letting on. During the Dragon Pit Council to choose a new king, when Tyrion asks Bran if he's up for the job, Bran's response is a bit suspicious.
Will you lead the Seven Kingdoms to the best of your abilities from this day until your last day?
Why do you think I came all this way?
Once again, Bran suggests he knew something would happen before it did. So why isn't he using that information more effectively and for the greater good? If you think about it, Bran's action, and more aptly his inaction, have consistently and subtly pushed him in the direction of becoming king. Season 8 makes a whole lot more sense if you consider the fact that Bran might have been manipulating events for his own benefit all along. After all, he could have saved a lot more lives along the way if that had been his goal. But what if it wasn't? Consider Bran's actions during the Battle of Winterfell. Though he can warg into animals and get a bird's eye view of the battle, which could then allow him to pass useful intelligence to the fighters defending the castle, Bran does nothing. As thousands upon thousands die, he just sits in the Godswood quietly using himself as bait for the Night King.
I'm going to go now.
If he could have helped, why didn't he? Maybe because Bran foresaw a number of key deaths that would help bolster his position as king. The battle saw so many of Daenerys' forces eliminated that she was suddenly on even ground with the Lannisters. She also lost Jorah Mormont, her most trusted advisor and most capable protector. Other key deaths in the battle included a popular and convincing leader in Lyanna Mormont, who had been known to sway public opinion with gripping speeches. Also, Theon Greyjoy, who had a history with Sansa Stark that could divide her loyalties. Clearly, some significant key people who might have changed the rest of the events of Season 8 were lost during this battle. Bran also helps provide Jon with the information about his true parentage, even though that does nothing but complicate an already strained wartime situation. It's Bran who convinces Samwell Tarly to tell Jon the truth about who his parents were, which instantly puts Jon into conflict with Dany, even though he's already pledged her his loyalty, bent the knee, and given up being King of the North for her. Jon has a better claim to the Iron Throne than Dany, but it's obvious he doesn't want to rule.
I'm not sure what you are now. A lord? Nothing at all?
It's not important.
Why tell Jon about his parents at all? Or at least, why tell him right before he fights a battle that could mean the destruction of all of Westeros? It seems like a pretty bad move that doesn't really help anyone unless you consider that Bran wants to sow discord and push Daenerys over the edge. Losing Ser Jorah leaves Daenerys without a key bodyguard and without a man who had often acted as the voice of reason against her worst impulses. And his death couldn't come at a worse time, right when Dany is within sight of her goal, and right when the biggest threat to her claim to the throne, Jon, is suddenly revealed.
If it were true, it would make you the last male heir of House Targaryen. You'd have a claim to the Iron Throne.
Daenerys then loses her dragon Rhaegal, a bit too easily if you ask me, and her close friend and advisor Missandei to a sneak attack at Dragonstone. Again, something that seems like a guy who can become a bird and see things anywhere in the world could have helped her avoid. That puts Daenerys atop Drogon at King's Landing in a fraught state. Her enemies have killed her best people. Her advisors are turning on her. Her dragons are dead. She hasn't won any loyalty despite helping beat the army of the dead. And the man she loves, also her nephew, could challenge her pursuit of the goal she spent her life chasing. She's primed to do something terrible, and Bran, the three-eyed raven, could have stopped any or all of these circumstances from coming to pass with his powers, but he doesn't. The events of Season 8 make a whole lot more sense if you assume Bran is manipulating people on purpose, Littlefinger style. He tells Jon that he's really Aegon Targaryen, knowing that at the very least, it'll create distrust between him and Daenerys. He lets a whole lot of people die fighting the army of the dead because he wants them gone, but sets up Arya to kill the Night King. Don't forget, he gave her that Valyrian steel dagger. She effectively eliminated one of his chief adversaries. He allows Dany to lose her armies and her dragons to weaken her and push her over the edge. He doesn't provide any of his family members with information about King's Landing or their enemies that could help them take the city with less bloodshed. Everything he does, or doesn't do, sets up the perfect opportunity for Cersei, Dany, and Jon to eliminate each other, and nothing he does or doesn't do saves lives or de-escalates that conflict. And yes, there's even a fan theory to go along with this idea. It's based more on George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire novels than what we've seen in the show. It concerns the true identity of the Three-Eyed Raven, a Targaryen bastard called Brynden Rivers, also known as the Blood Raven. With his green sight and warg powers, the theory goes the Blood Raven could have lured Bran north of the Wall and then taken over his body, executing a lengthy plan to take the Iron Throne for himself. That's right, a new Targaryen on the Iron Throne. Over the years, fans have also speculated that Bran could become the Night King through some combination of time travel and magic. We've heard this ever since Season 6. The Night King's touch has been powerful enough to turn babies into White Walkers and dragons into whites. Remember, the Night King pointedly touched Bran during a vision in Season 6.
His mark is on me. He always knows where I am.
Is it possible that touch had a lot more effect on Bran than we all realized? If Bran is in fact evil, then his arc in Season 8 is a masterstroke of manipulation and careful inaction. Everything Bran doesn't do matters just as much as everything he does do. There's a really good reason why he doesn't use his powers to help people in Season 8. He doesn't want to help them. And by doing very little, acting disinterested, and downplaying his own magic abilities, Bran sets himself up to seem like a great choice for king. He takes the throne with no opposition, because everyone else thinks it was their idea to crown him. Not even Littlefinger could have executed a better deception. Could Bran actually be evil, or is this a bit of a reach? Let us know what theories you have following the series finale of Game of Thrones. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.